Hey y'all, it's your girl Courtney Arlesia, and today I'm joined by Mungo, a recording artist whose work centers around growth, self awareness, and the ongoing process of becoming more aligned with the life you want to live. Mungo is currently working on an upcoming album. Alongside the music, he's created a YouTube series, which documents the personal and creative reframing happening in real time. He recently released new music today, complete with a music video. So I just want to thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to learning more about you and more about your journey. And I have some questions that I want to ask you about your artistry first. But tell us more about your name, more about where you're from, and then tell us a little bit more about you as an artist.
Absolutely. My name's Mungo. My name's Mungo, and I'm originally from Malawi. And my name is Chichewa, is the language, is my native language. And the whole story of the name is it was gotten from my great grand aunt, and it was Mundawawana in a different language, and they translated it to Chichewa, and that became Mungo Wona, and they officially just gave me Mungo, my parents. So that's the origins of my name. And
Beautiful.
let's see, describe myself as an artist. So I'm a visual artist and a musician, and I like to call myself a protean artist, which just means I'm always evolving what I'm creating and how I'm creating. I'm actually in my studio right now, so I blurred the background so you can't see the art, but I do portraits and all sorts of things. But I'm a protean artist, so I just love art, and I love the power of art because multiple different times in the world's history, like they have used art to change the world, literally.
Mhm.
Music was used for protests in South Africa. Like we've seen music used over and over again for a powerful message of unification. And we've also seen visual arts used powerfully in the world. So I just believe in the power of art to change the world. And I try and bring that to different communities wherever I'm at.
Yeah, I love that. So tell us a little bit, because I think that's really, really powerful too. And I think it does make a statement of how powerful art is in our world in general, not just our countries, or, it just makes a statement all over the world. And it also helps people connect with each other more and more. So tell me a little bit more about what you feel like shows up for you present day in your artistry and in your work and in the themes that you're seeing in the work that you're creating.
Mm. Yeah, I think one of the big things that I think has always been at the center of my art, even though I didn't know it, was a sense of self-reflection that I love people to have when they're listening to my music or encountering my art. I love self-reflection myself, and I just love the idea that you could dive into the self and, wake up every day and decide on things to make your life better. Like I just love that that is a possibility to really look at your life and go, okay, how can I live better? How can I love better? How can I make my world a better place? So I think I've always believed that even before I knew that that's what I wanted to include in my art. And this era is just showing myself. It's just showing up even more like convinced of this reality. It's like I've always believed it, but now I'm even more like I'm 100% in like sharing this vision with the world. And
Yeah.
I feel like now that I went through this whole journey of like I'm still going through it. I think we all are of
Yeah.
healing the self and getting better every day and getting closer to a life that you're aligned with. I once read a quote that said, "The goal is to build a life you don't feel like you have to run away from," or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really like that's the goal. I'm just hoping a day at a time you can get into a life that you eventually have moments where you're just looking around being grateful, in whatever scale. So I think that's what is showing up a lot these days is just because I have this belief and I've done this work and I've read these books, I am wanting to share that with other people. And that's where the journey of getting to where I want to be was born, which is the YouTube series for the album Where I Want to Be, which is again the journey of really just looking at ourselves and assessing ourselves and being able to sit down with the self and be reflective of like where have I been and where am I now and where am I going. I think that always gives people clarity in terms of, okay, what do I need to slowly do to get to where I want to be?
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I feel like artists don't just start like, overnight. It's not an overnight thing. It's something inspires us, right? Or something, and I say us because I'm a music girly too, and I like to write, So, that's all that art being a creative is, is very a very unique talent, right? But we don't just wake up and decide that we are going to become a creator. Something inspires us. So when did your journey into the art world, into the music world begin? Was it when you were a child? Was it when you were a teenager? And who inspired you? Was it your parents, your grandparents? Like, where did that spark come from for you?
Yeah, I think it came from a few different places. So my family all like they all love music. My mom was an entertainment prefect in her high school. Like she loves to gather people.
Hmm.
So that's where, like my love of community comes from. But my family were all very musically inclined. My dad loves music, and he sang all through college. In like a quartet or something.
I love that.
And I think after that, church was also a big factor because I grew up in church and we, always were singing, and music was always a part of the house as well. My older sister, she ended up actually becoming a professor, a lecturer in vocal performance at the University of Malawi. So she was a huge component as well because when she was 16, 17, I think I was like 4, so we had a huge age gap or even more of an age gap. I don't remember the exact years, but she was a recording artist. She never put out her music, but she recorded a few songs in her teen years and her 20s. And she like would come home and would listen to them together, and she'd be like, "We just recorded this." And I think that was also a part of it, of like, wow, like seeing people birth their own things,
Yeah.
huge. And then when I was a teen myself, I went to this high school, and uncle of mine was a cousin uncle, like distant relations that are in the family, but he was teaching at the school, and he lived with me for a semester because I had gotten sick and I needed to stay off campus, yada yada. But I lived with him, and during that period he was planning his launch, and I got to see him birth the idea of the song, record the idea of the song, shoot the music video, and he would play it in the car. And he turned to me one day and he said, "Mungo, this is going to be one of the biggest tracks in Malawi." And it was,
I
you know,
love that.
it was just like, think like, wow, like he had the idea and he like pushed, he like
Hmm.
executed, and he was able to achieve what he hoped he would achieve. So I think there's always been things around me that have shown me like, okay, you can do this. And then I myself sang in church for the first time at 11 or somewhere there. And I think that was also something that ignited my love for performing and my love for making music. I love harmonies and voices. I
Hmm.
think I love instrumentals and all of this. I'm such a vocal producer even when I make music. So I love harmonies, and so I think my love for the voice as an instrument as well, and just music itself that started from a young age, just continued with all these influences, and it just continued to grow. And once I found it myself and found, oh, I can perform too, then it just got even better.
It just kept going and going. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I
one
love it. Go
of a
ahead.
voice thing. One of my favorite things is at shows when I get people to sing back to me and the whole room is singing, like that's what I live for. Like I love music and the feeling of it. I think it's very like everybody singing in there always, it's a powerful
Yeah.
thing.
Have you ever been to Nashville before?
I
Okay, so
haven't.
you have to come visit Nashville because you're definitely going when you go out, and so live music goes crazy in Nashville. Everybody
Mm,
loves to sing in Nashville. It's very, it's Music City.
yeah,
So you'll go out and have a concert and you'll tell the crowd to sing and it's gonna sound like a whole choir. You're gonna be like, what? Like it's gonna be amazing. So put Nashville on your list to come, okay?
I
But
will.
so I want to talk more about your album, Where I Want to Be, but I really love the story that you just telling us, right? About
Mm,
your family and how powerful music and art has been in your family. And I'm curious to know, like, how does your family feel about you now stepping into this light and you stepping into this arena and letting your light shine and you being very vocal? Because you know it's you have to be vulnerable to be an artist. You have to be vulnerable. What does Erica Badu say? I'm an artist and I'm sensitive. Like you gotta be like, you gotta be really, really vulnerable to let people in. So how has your family been receptive to this journey and watching you grow?
Ooh, I think it's very tricky because obviously from a very protective point of view, it's like they didn't want to see me go into music as my career, for obvious, like they what they had experienced was you need something that holds down more stability than that, and I'm finding out multiple truths nowadays too, of like doesn't one thing doesn't have to be true and one thing doesn't have to not be
Right,
true.
right.
So I think for a long time there was pushback a little bit from the idea of me being a musician full time, even though like my mom would help me pay for the studio session sometimes, like she would I would ask her for help with that and she would help me out with that. So they've been very supportive as well, but I think they've also been very protective in just the sense
Right.
of like want me to they've seen too what the industry has done to people, and
Yeah.
so I think there was that sense of protectiveness too, and also what it means to be a public facing persona. I think is also an idea that like needed to sit with me comfortably before they sit with it comfortably.
Yeah.
So that's things that I realized too is kind of like when you sometimes have a vision for yourself, you have to go through with it, and then people catch up. People then go, okay, you know what? Actually, maybe it's not going to be so bad. Maybe you'll be fine, or So I think that's part of it. Is I went home like last year or 2 years ago for the first time in a long time, and it was amazing to see the shift in ideology just based off of what I was able to achieve until that point.
Yeah.
Um, and show people like actually art can be a way that you reach the world and can be a great connector and can be like a powerful way to exist in the world. And by that point I'd done public art and I'd done shows and all this. So I think there's an element of also believing in yourself so much that you go, I'm going to make this true, and then I'm going to show you that it doesn't have to be whatever you were afraid it's going to be.
Right.
um, and I think now there's way more receptivity with the vision, because it's like it's now more crafted
Yeah.
than they before. When I could see it, they couldn't see
Yeah.
it, but it's like I
Yeah.
see it more crafted, and now they can follow me in celebrating it too.
Yeah. And I think too, giving them the opportunity to see it, and it sounds like that y'all still collectively work together and there was a lot of support there. But the love of a parent is just want to make sure that their child stays safe and that they're not harmed. But I love how you talk about art. So I can see how you like really probably showed up in that space to show your family, like, no, we can do this. I can evolve from this. And there's more even after this. You know what I mean? You're going even further after this. So you're going to be able to show them even more. So I think that's amazing and beautiful story. So let's talk a little bit about the album, Where I Want to Be. So tell us more about Where I Want to Be, how you came up with the title, what does it mean to you right now in this season? And tell us a little bit more about the release date as well.
Okay, yeah. So where I want to be, um, it was this November of 2024. I lost my voice. I had gone on this tour. It was just a year of craziness. It was continuous, like there was all this momentum. And I think that's another thing that happens is once the ball is rolling, when you have the sense of like, let me hop on this wave and like just ride the wave, sometimes it will hit burnout. And I think it's important for artists to also know that, something that you love can also burn you out. And
Mhm.
that's possible
Mhm.
too. It was just this wave of like go 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 go, and I think there was multiple things that added to all of these, like different factors that then added to me losing my voice. There was stress, there was the smoke. Idaho is very dry, and so I was in Idaho at the time, and there was lots of wildfires, so the air quality was really bad, and there was stress, and there was singing technique where placement and supporting my voice. And then I got acid reflux, and so I always thought that there was
Mm,
my, and I so it was all
mm,
these factors, and I lost my voice. And at that point, it was really, I had already started going on my healing journey to that point, but it was really a time to sit down and listen, and go,
mhm,
what am I doing? And why am I doing it? And, all of these questions that were just really reflective of like my journey up until that point. So it was a period of like, I'm no longer going. And I needed to get clear of with what I want to do, how I want to show up in this world, what I want to bring to this world. Because I think I'd always known it in a very back of my head way, and I sort of acted towards that goal, even though I never outwardly say, here's the goal and here's what's happening.
mhm,
So I just had to get clear with that. And so that's when this question of like where I want to be came up.
mhm,
It was just like, what do I want to bring? Where do I want to be physically? Because it was also part of the healing work included assessing where I'm at and like figuring out, do I feel safe here? Are my shoulders at ease? Am I relaxing? Do I breathe differently? Do I show up to it was just trying to figure out the way I'm moving in the world and if it supports my well-being, because it was like
mhm,
my become central, it was like, okay, so the question of where I want to be came up, and it was like the journey of figuring out where I wanted to be became like this searching of like what motivates me, what motivates that, and what's the belief that's under that, and suddenly became unpacking all these layers of like, of wow, there's so many things
yeah,
that I've never really questioned and like sat with, and some things I've always known and thought I knew, but I never articulated them and realized I do need to articulate them to be
yeah,
able to, communicate with and connect with the people that understand that. Um, so that's when where I want to be came into play. It was like, okay, I'm trying to manifest my reality
yeah,
and where I want to be. And then as that journey kept going and I was writing the music, um, there was this point of realizing that I had already been doing all this work, and this was just another point of really reflection and a point of like, how there's check marks in life that you see
mhm,
that you graduated high school, I did this, and that this was another point in life in which I was I could reference. It was like another little check mark, and I was writing songs and writing albums and everything. I mean, writing songs and writing lyrics and everything. And I remember one day just sitting and thinking, I'm exactly where I need to be. Like, I have the love that I want in my life. Like, I have these people that support me. I have a career that I'm building. Like, I have shows that I do in whatever capacity. It was just a moment of gratitude and realizing, wow, I'm exactly where I want to be
yeah,
in terms of where I've gone and where I'm going. And it was like figuring out that I've done that. I want to share that feeling and that path with the world. And so that's where the journey of the YouTube idea came of like,
mhm,
this is done and this is work that everybody can do because we all have motivations, we all have dreams, we all have thoughts of where we want to be, we all have thoughts about our situations, and sometimes we never think to uncouple what's in the inside belief of that situation to then get to where we want to be. But it's like, let me highlight that for people. So that's where the idea of the album came. That was a long-winded answer, but that's where the idea.
no, it was a beautiful answer though, and I love how in depth you go. You go very beyond the surface, and it sounds like you do a lot of self exploration and getting to know yourself a little bit more. Tell us where that comes from. What inspires that to want? Because most people, and then being a black man, like you don't really see that. You don't see people, and in general, you don't see people asking themselves questions, holding themselves accountable, really trying to figure out what's next for them. We'll say, well, I want to experience this and I want to experience this, but we don't want to do the inner work to really get those experiences, right? And so it sounds like to me, what I hear you saying is like, I didn't just say, this is where I want to be. I started searching and trying to figure out more about it. I tried to I'm trying to get clarity about it, right? So what led you to that place, or what do you feel like inspired you to just go beyond the surface with yourself and dig deeper to explore these things about you so that you can produce these bodies of work, but not just produce the bodies of work, you know what I mean? So that you can grow as a human being. Like what inspired that for you?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I, that's a really fascinating one. As I was thinking about it, as you were saying, just to um, respond, I was thinking too, partially not ever fitting in a place was something
Mm,
that I experienced. And I had always, that brought me questioning with, in terms of like, okay, what, um, just asking deeper questions after that. It's like, okay, there's not no particular group that I feel like I just like fit, and it's like, okay, there is the box. It's in the grid, and I think that got me searching for, like, I moved to Armenia when I was 15 to finish high school, and did 2 years of high school in Armenia, and I think that was again part of that journey of like figuring out what world. I think there was also an element of like dreaming up a world, seeing things around me. I've always just been a deep thinker too. I feel like I was 6 thinking about, oh, so like when we die, we go to heaven and like da da da. Like I remember those thoughts, like being told something and like thinking about it for days. And so
mm-hmm.
I've always been a deep thinker. And sometimes I would have realities in my head that I wouldn't see in front of me yet. And I was thinking, how do I make this true? And where is this true? So I think I went searching for a reality in which that was true and realized I could build that around me as well. I think that's also partially what happened. So I think never fitting in one place got me to a point where I was searching for a world in which I didn't either have to fit in, or I was, just something that was different from what I was experiencing. So I think that search then got me into deeper questions in terms of like, okay, how can we structure um, what we have in the world for there to be more love, for there to be more connection, for there to be, just more goodness. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
some motivators were just like realizing that we needed that in the world as well, and that I could bring that to the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's go back a little bit and talk more about where I want to be. So the album is already out, correct?
So the
Is that
album where he is, so I released Sick Fever, which is a single, but the album's still cooking.
your single is out today though?
Single Self Love from the album is out today.
Right, and that's February 6th, y'all. Okay, so February 6th, the Self Love single has been released today. We'll get a little bit deeper in that. So when does the album come out? So when does where do I want to be come out? When is it released?
The plan for that was initially summer of 2026, but
Okay.
I after the burnout of 2024, I realized I'd also given myself certain deadlines that I didn't need to, because I'm an independent artist
Mm-hmm.
and at different paces. So, considering I just started my master's program last year in painting,
Yay! I love that.
and so now I'm moving at a pace that's different. I'm trying to give myself more time to
Yeah.
really flesh out the ideas and build something that I'm really proud of. So I've moved the summer 2026 deadline in my head to maybe later in the year, or maybe early 2027, just to really give myself time to flesh out the ideas, and yeah, I'm sort of just taking it a step at a time versus
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know what day it will come out, what month it will come out, but it's coming because
Yeah.
I'm trying to song a month until the album. So it will
Yeah.
maybe in this later this summer.
Yeah, I love that. And I like how you are allowing you're not pressuring yourself, like you learn from your experience and
Mm,
you know yourself and you're trusting yourself and you're trusting your art too and your creativity. So you have your single Fever out and then you also have Self Love that just came out too. Um, is there outside of these two singles, is there another single or a song that you've written yet or writing already that you like really, really love and that you can't wait to share with the world as well?
um, there's a few. There's Lucky Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is one that's on the list, and then there's boundaries, which come it sort of goes hand in hand with self-love. It comes
Okay.
after it, a problem in my head. And so boundaries and Lucky Boy are two tracks right now that I'm really excited about getting out eventually.
Yeah, I'm just the title just has me excited to hear it. I like it, especially boundaries. I'm the queen of boundaries. I'm gonna set all kind. I'm gonna set all kind of boundaries every day. So let's talk a little bit about self love since it came out today.
Yeah.
Why does this song feel so necessary for you right now in this season?
Ooh, multiple reasons. I mean, the first one is I feel like the state of the world's kind of all over the place right now.
Hmm.
Um, I think I used to think very global and like big and like we need to make movements and do all this stuff. And I think we still need to do that. But I think one thing that we leave out of that structure when we think of making change is ourselves, and like how we get to show up to these spaces. So after I went through the journey, I realized that there was a lot of, the inner critic and the inner voice didn't always speak to myself nicely. And it was like reframing how I do that made me realize I could foster more self love, internally. And how transformational that experience was for me made me realize, maybe it's something that's going to help transform the world. It's like you can
Yeah.
only, Neville Goddard, who's this writer, spiritual guy, said something like you can only change the world. You change the world when you change yourself, right? And I feel like when you change that inner voice, because we're not trained to speak to ourselves nicely, we're not trained to love ourselves, we're not trained to give ourselves space, we're not trained a lot of the times to make those boundaries that
Right.
and
Right.
it's like all the time we're trained against that, and we get to like betray ourselves, and then we don't trust ourselves, and then we are like everything spins out of control. So it's
Right.
like getting the self and really fixing the self and going out into the world with a fixed self really changes the game. Like it's like your personal energy when you go out into the world loving yourself could really change the game. So I think that's why this song is so important to me right now,
Yeah.
because it's like a cultivation of that self-love. It's a cultivation of that energy of like groundedness and like self-acceptance that holds
Yeah.
space for other energies that can then, I think really change the world. Like I think if
Yeah.
everybody gave more space for themselves and loved themselves more, there would be more accountability, because they're not screaming at themselves and shouting at themselves, because they're when you feel defensive with yourself, then you feel defensive with the world. But if you like
Yeah.
have passion with yourself, then you're more open to the possibilities of the world around you. So I think just that element of it being the first spark of what changes the world is why I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I also believe personally too that self love it's your guide, and so how you love yourself really does matter. So I love that you said, when you're compassionate with yourself, you're going to be compassionate with others. When you give yourself grace, you're going to you're going to do the same thing for others. When you set boundaries with yourself. When you hard stop, okay, I'm not going to do this because this is not healthy or whatever the situation may be, it makes you more open and willing to do it with other people. So I love that as an artist, and that has impact, because artists have impact, and you don't never know who's going to come across your artwork. You never know who's going to come across your music. And so for you to say, man, I feel like that this could really help people see, like, if I just go here first and I learn to love myself first, then it can really just change my experience. So I absolutely love that so much. Let's go back and talk about Fever though. So Fever is more of like a fun song. Tell us more about Fever.
Yes, so Fever is very fun. And it's very so the album, I'm sectioning it in little parts of like there's like the section that has self-love and boundaries, and
Hmm.
it's very like self and finding myself in the world. And it has an interlude in there too from my professor from my college undergraduate days, where he's talking about becoming a person. So there's that little section of becoming and locating yourself in the world. Then there's the little fun section of dance songs and just like joy, because I think that's part of what we need to see more of as well, because I think there's very much a lot of despair I think even with these self-help worlds, I think a lot of the time they're focused on the like, I need to like, keep breaking myself to become this thing. And it's like you're using the model of machinery to become to do a counter thing. It's like
Right, right.
you reframe your mind to bring in this new dynamic, but you're using the old model for this new thing. So I think that's another thing I wanted to fight against, and um, wanted to put fun songs in there, and wanted to get back to dancing, and wanted to get back to like connection and
Mhm.
what's so fun about the arts as well. So Fever came up as a fun, a very fun song. Like the guitarist Justin Tam was just jamming, and
Mhm.
I freestyle. Oh, then the band joined him, and I was across the room, and I like ran to the mic, and I was like, this needs to be a song. So I sang, I freestyled on it, and then it was like, okay, that's something. And I had the video because I was recording to promote a show of the
Mhm.
rest. But it was like, oh, now we have that on video. We just wrote that. So then I figured I could do a fun thing out of this. And then months later, I called Justin. He recorded the guitar. So then it became this fun song, of like very mindless. I think very like in the moment, very like they're
Mhm.
playing. I just hop in there. It's fun. And I wanted the music video to sort of relate to that. And I also wanted it to have that intentionality of diverse voices and how the different things can join. Like if you watch the music video, which if you're listening to this, go watch it. It's fun. It's
Well, I'll
really
put it in the article. I'll make sure that it's there.
perfect. And there's different like people in the video. And I wanted that idea of like, yes, we can all be individuals, but individuals that come together to celebrate how different we are. The celebration of difference just continues to highlight the difference, but in a beautiful way. It doesn't
Yeah.
create us's and them's. It just creates an inclusive environment where we feel safe. I think safety
Yeah.
is a huge thing for me. Um, so it's that idea of like creating a space that felt safe for all these different kinds of people in the music video, that are it's set in the 50s as well, so there was kind of a reframing of what the narrative around that time would be like. What if in that time this is what we were doing more of? Where would we
Mhm.
be now compared to where we are now? Did we build could we have built more bridges? Can we build them now? So there's just a lot of exploration of that as well in the music video. But the song, I just wanted to be fun and for people to dance. And there's a few other songs in the album that are like that, even though, we're throwing around this self-help, we're throwing around the self-love, we're throwing around getting to where you want to be and finding yourself. I think there's always space to shake your body. And because so I used to teach dance classes,
Okay.
and that was a huge part of it, was for starters seeing people not think they could do the dance, and then seeing them learn the dance, and
Yeah.
then seeing them overcome that was one of the motivators of me realizing, oh, I love being able to see people come into themselves and celebrate themselves and like enjoy doing what they thought they could never do. And then learning about all the effects of dance was crucial as well in making this album. Was like, we all need to shake our body more, we all need to
Yeah.
release stuff that's in the hip and in the
Yeah.
shoulders.
Yeah.
And so part of these fun songs were just like, okay, you need to get up and dance.
Yeah, and I think too that's a part of the healing journey too. So my background is also in social work and therapy, and so that's something I'm always teaching people. Like it's not our healing journey shouldn't just be strict, strict, strict. It should be fun. So I love that. What I'm hearing is that this album is going to be really, really amazing because it's going to teach people not only to love themselves, not only to, love others through your boundaries that you set, but also have fun, be in community, and I also feel like when you're fun and you're sensual too, that's also learning different layers of yourself too. So it sounds like that this album is going to be something really, really good and it's going to help people in multiple ways. And I feel like to see you in a total way and not just this is who I am and I can only be this. No, this is all of me and I can be all of me. I am excited for you. And I'm excited for whoever listens to. And so if you're watching this interview, you make sure you go support and show love. Make sure that you listen to Self Love. Make sure that you listen to Fever. And then you also have your YouTube series. We mentioned it earlier. Let's go back and touch on it too. So getting to where I want to be, is that out already? Or because I know that you mentioned that where I want to be is going to come later, but are you already documenting and showing this journey already? Or what's that like?
Yeah, so I I started the journey of getting to where I want to be. I'm trying to do an episode a month. So I started the intro episode, which was just me talking about all of what I've told you of like how did I get here and what am I doing here, and
Hmm.
where am I trying to go. So the first episode is out, and it's just me talking about that. Then I'm sort of planning it out like a class almost, where it's like, okay, here's the background of why we're doing this, and then here's episode one. Episode two really is going to be the self-love. And because I think at the core of everything is that it's like once you fix the self-concept and the self-love, it's like everything else reflects that. Like there's somebody who said the quote of the world takes you where you're at, like where you're
Yeah.
at, like see yourself, and where is how the world reflects. So I really do believe everything starts like right there internally. So the first lesson is self-love, and then the next one is going to be, so we're just building on all of that. So yeah, the series is out, the first episode is out, and the second one comes out next week, February
Okay.
13th,
Awesome.
and another one in March, and another one in, yeah. So I'll just keep going like that.
I love it. I think that's amazing. That's so awesome. And so you have your projects that you're working on musically, right? And then I
Mm.
also heard you say that you're getting your master's degree. So again, congratulations on that. Tell
Thank
us how you are taking care of yourself. How are you practicing self-love? How are you grounding?
you.
Yeah, that puts you on a hot spot, right?
Yeah.
Tell us
Uh,
more.
I've done a good job of, so I journal every morning now when I
Okay,
wake
that's
up,
great.
and it's amazing. I love it. It's just, it really gets you back in touch with yourself, and it gets you in touch with your purpose every morning. So I do that, and then I do yoga every morning as well, or dance. Like I either dance or do yoga, or sometimes like a light workout, because I found that that really helps me as well. So I used to try and do the gym every time, but then I would stop doing it after a few weeks, and then I realized if I do it from home, like a light workout or yoga or
Yeah.
whatever, then it's not the thing of like, oh, I have to get out of the house. It's like you can rearrange your win mentally to still get on a path and still,
Yeah.
so now I've, done it for months, and it's amazing just how like that reframing of the goal can change the whole trajectory. And now I've worked out more consistently for the longest period in my life, when I was able to just change that little goal. So I wake up, I do the journal, or I dance or work out or yoga. And so that's really like helps me ground, and it just helps me get, centered.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, I try and do a breathing exercise. I don't always do it because it's hard to, after nighttime, like you're tired. Like sometimes I'm
Man,
in the
you be
paint.
ready to go to bed.
Right. Sometimes I'm in the
Yeah.
painting studio until like midnight. And so
Yeah.
I get home, and it's just like, I want to get to bed. But a lot of the times I try and practice it. And it's just basically slowing down your breath,
Yeah.
um, and breathing through your nose and all of that. And it just helps your nervous system just calm down a little bit more. And so I try and do those things every day.
Yeah.
And then longer term, I think I'm just, once you get in touch with your body, things change too. Like
Yeah.
it's like you're out of touch with it. You could keep going at a rate that's very out of touch. And then you can hit walls that you never would hit if you are in touch with it and you're listening to it. Because on days when I'm like extra tired, I get to feel that. I'm like feeling my body these days. So then I adjust accordingly. Like on days when I'm feeling like I shouldn't do too much, I like slow down a little bit more and maybe do a slower yoga or just do stretch, so I just
Yeah.
adjust based on where I'm at. So I think I've just done a good job of like getting in touch with my body. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
like once you start listening, you can hear things that your muscles are telling you. It's like all of this bodily connection. So I just try
Yeah.
and adjust where I think I'm at the time.
Yeah, I love this. This is really good information. So I hope that people are taking in and gaining some stuff for themselves, because I feel like everything you're saying is so true, and building that self awareness. Like, yeah, I was talking to a friend earlier today, and she was asking me a question. I'm like, it's this. That's what's making me feel like this. It's this. But the more that you build that connection with your body, the more that you know, because it does speak back to you. You are in a relationship with your temple that you are living in. We live in a home, but our real home is our body. And so you are teaching us so much, and you are bringing to light, a lot of things that we hear people talk about it all the time, but you don't really get to see how it translates in other ways of people's life. And I think that you're doing a good job of like translating that for everybody. And I love
Mm,
that. So with everything that you have going on with your album, with your singles that's out, with your documentary, what are you hoping and gaining that people take away from your projects and your artwork? And even just watching your interviews or coming to your shows, what do you hope people gain from encountering you?
mm. Yeah, I hope everybody lives fuller lives from encountering me. I hope everybody like takes something away that can enrich their life. I remember going to Beyonce's concert in Seattle, and what I was looking for is asking people their personal impact of the music in their lives or the different era, because I was really curious about that because I always knew the power of music to do things, but it was like as a musician, it was a different approach now because I had toured by that point and I was going to a concert after being a touring musician,
Mhm.
and it was getting closer to how I want to impact people was seeing how somebody that has impacted me has impacted other people. And a lot of people had mentioned real life things like they would mention, oh, I listened to this song like a bunch of times before I decided to get a divorce because I was in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Or like I listened to this until I decided, okay, it's time to go get my master's because I was like,
Yeah.
let me level up. And so I had listened to all these testimonials of like music has gotten me to live a better life, literally, to like change my actual environment to live a more fulfilled, happier life. And I was thinking to myself, that's the impact I want to have. Like once people experience all this, I hope, you know, you don't have to change your whole thing, but it's like one piece of information or one like self-reflective thing too. It doesn't even have to be something I say with my visual art, especially. I'm hoping somebody looks at it and just thinks, how am I showing up in my world, and how many
Mhm.
spaces and places am I showing up in a way that I don't want to show up anymore? And like I think evolution as well. I hope people get to understand that it's allowed to evolve and it's allowed to grow and it's allowed to change, and that they lean in a little bit into their evolution, and they lean in a bit into their maybe artistic sensibilities, because I think everybody has those. And I think the further we move away from them, the more rigid our lives are, and
Yeah.
then we really get a chance to then get better, because the getting better requires, like you said, a sense of being ready to reframe and to
Mhm.
be able to step back a little bit more in your own life to go, okay, I can move things around. But if you're this close to it, so I just hope people get a sense of evolution for themselves and a
Mhm.
sense of reflection for themselves so that they can see some of the ways in which they're standing in their own way. Because I feel like I did that a lot, like
Yeah. Yeah.
so they can see that they're standing in their own way and they can maybe make little changes. Even just acknowledging things sometimes mentally. Like a lot of the times
Yeah.
we tell ourselves lies, and sometimes just stepping back and going, that bottle is blue. Like that's like sometimes that's enough, because it's like
Yeah.
later you could go, okay, and because that bottle is blue, I could do this. And like you say, like you were talking to your friend and you went, oh yeah, it's because of that. And it's because at
Yeah.
some point you became aware enough of that thing that you were
Mhm.
able to it. So I think it's just that. I'm just hoping somebody gets a little bit of that every time, and hopefully that snowballs in their lives.
I love that. I think, and I personally think, just from talking to you, it's been beautiful getting to know you and connecting with you and learning more about your music and your art and your passion. And I do believe, like, because I'm getting that just from this conversation, right? So just sprinkle on your artwork, sprinkle on your music with that. Like, I can just imagine, like, people will probably feel seen through your
Mhm.
artistry too, you know? And so, and I love how you kept mentioning impact because that matters too. A lot of us are just moving through life, you know, and we don't realize that we all have purpose. I'm talking about every last one of us has a purpose, and it's to do something impactful. So congratulations to you. Cheers to you. And thank you for allowing me to take time and get to know you and tell your story a little bit more. So
Of
before we wrap up though, let is
course.
there anything else that you want the audience to know? And then also plug yourself, tell us where we can find everything, where we can find your music, your song Fever, Self-Love, where's YouTube is where your documentary is, right? Tell us everything, just everything that we need to know.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so my Mungowona, Mungowana is my website. It's www.mungowana.com, and that's my Instagram handle, and that's my YouTube as well. So if you search that anywhere, on Facebook as well, if you search that anywhere, TikTok too,
Okay.
that's the name. And the Fever music videos on YouTube, you can watch it there. The Getting to Where I Want to Be is on YouTube, you can watch it there. My TikTok has a lot of insight, little things like little like I just recorded a 7 minute video before we hopped on this call
Okay.
of a conversation that I was having about growing up and something too. So it's like TikTok has a lot of the little niche insights,
Yeah.
because I think you have to be different everywhere. It's kind of
Yeah.
this, you have to, yeah. So that's where the people can find me, and I don't know if there's anything else I'd love to add except like yeah, keep chugging along and finding ways and community around you too that can help this journey. I think a huge part of it is as within as without, as above so below, and so as you start getting into this journey, finding at least a few sounding boards that understand you so you don't feel crazy is really important. And I think community is important regardless. I think that's how we'll make it out of this. That's how we'll make it in this world in general.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Encourage everybody to find community that they truly feel safe around. I think safe is a huge word for me. And like, where do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? And I think that helps navigate a lot of those questions, right? Like, of like, where do I want to grow closer to? Where do I want to grow away from? Is that question was a guiding light for me. So ask yourself that: where do I feel safe? How do I feel safe? And try and get yourself in more of those situations, and every day will keep getting better. And yeah, I don't think and there's anything else apart from that except thank you. Like you have a grounding energy, so I'm glad we were just able to chat and
Thank
get to
you.
it. So I really appreciate that. And I guess, yeah, be on the lookout for my visual arts. I'm very experimental right now because I'm finding it again. What I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to show up in the world with the visual arts as well.
Awesome. Well, I cannot wait to see what unfolds more for you. And again, thank you so much for taking time out to share more about your projects, what you have going on, and then just giving us insight. You gave a lot of insight that I hope so many people take the time to watch this interview again. I hope they have their journals out taking notes because you dropped a lot of gems that a lot of us need in this world just to make it day by day. So thank you again for your love. Thank you again for your passion. And this interview will be on courtneyarlesia.substack.com and also on Courtney Arlesia on YouTube. And so you're also going to be able to, I want to tell more of his story in written form. So there's going to be a lot of this to check out. I will have everything linked in that Substack article as well. So you won't miss the video or the singles. You'll be able to find everything, y'all. So make sure that you show some love and show some support. And yeah, until next time, see y'all soon. Thank you.